Okay guys, so in previous class I have shared you this data sets and I have asked you to create some reports. So let me just first let me click enable edit so that this Excel workbook should be in editable format. Now if you see I have some tables, so if you see I have this table, right? And I have this table which have date column. If you are able to see some value in the date column is not correct, like I have number as 2, which cannot be a date. Even I have kg, which is a string value, that I need to change. The same thing. So whenever you are seeing your data, you need to notice that so basically this row number 13 does not contain the date and some other column, row, like row number 37, right? So you need to observe your data, like I have a date column and these are not the correct data. So what you have to go to client and discuss it, whether this data are missing or whether you should remove this row. So if you are removing this row, so what will happen, you know not only this date will removed, but it will also going to remove this primary producer, a stage name, account name, opportunity name, niche name like transportations. Expected design date is 1st of June 2019. So these value will be lost and even your annual revenue will be going to be lost. Since you have the value for all other column, only the value of the date is not there. So in majority of the scenario, will not going to delete this row completely. Either you will be talking to your client and and asking them, if some values by mistake it is missing. If it is missing or incorrect value has been entered by someone, it need to be correct. Okay, so they will be going to give you some particular value, like any default value that need to be replaced or any particular value based on the information that they will have. So as a data analyst, your data is very very important, because if you are deleting row number 13, what will happen, even the revenue will be going to delete it. And if you are representing revenue of 2019, this amount, like 15,000 gbp, this value will not be there. And you will be finding, always finding a mismatch in your report and what the actual revenue has been generated. So as a data analyst, your main focus should be towards the integrity of the data, how the data is correct, how much the data is accurate. So these are, is very very important. you know so you should make sure that you will be taking uh, best decision. Just not go, simply go and delete this row. You need to discuss with your client. Also here you are getting kg. Ideally it should be a date, but somehow, like, because if you see other column like primary producer, even a stage name and account name, you have all the value. Okay, so anyhow, like, you should not delete this value. Okay, you need to report to your client or a person who has provided you the data sets, and based on the discussions only you will be going to take the decisions. But mostly you should not delete this row. They will be going to provide you the date, and through which you will be replacing these value kj and these two with the value that they will be going to provide. Or either what they will do, they will reshare this data sets by correcting this value. So they can do so, so that this value should not be there. Okay, so if you are saying and also you should observe how many years data have, like you have, if you see you have 2018 data, 2017 data, then you have 2019 data, and if you click on this drop down, you will have information about that, like you will have 2019 data and 17 data. If you scroll towards down, you will be finding other data. So if you see majority, you have data from 2017 to 2019. So these are the observation that you have to meditate. You know, you should make sure that whenever you are seeing this data, you should be able to understand what are the data quality I have, what are the data distributions I have. How you will able to see that? I will be showing you in the Power Query. But whenever you are getting data, just you should have very sharp mind where you are noticing your data. Then if you are see, so like by seeing this data, you know that you have data from 2017 to 2019, right? This is a date column. And then you find your primary producer value. You have a producer one, two, three, four, three, so on. Now if you click on the drop down, you will have unique producer. So I have producer one, two, three, and four. There will be four producer. So by seeing the data, what you are noticing that this value primary producer are repeating, and just seeing the data, like date, the value of primary producer, the stage name, the account. Normally in data analytics, account we say to client. So one client will be called as one account. So suppose I have some projects. I'm working for TCS. So TCS will be my one of the account. If I am working with some core pay, some fintech company like Paytm or Flipkart or Amazon, they will be one of my account. Okay, so these are the client, and these are the opportunities where if you see the data, you will be able to understand what is the meeting for. Like this is the first meeting. There is a commercial insurance, there is a payment fraud training. So why we are connecting, for that particular reason, the data will be mentioned. If you see the number of rows that this column contain, if you see, it has 181 rows. So I cannot scroll and see all the 181 rows to see the data or where is the error. Or it's always better to simply click on the drop down and see the scroll value. So you will be finding all the distinct value, and here you can apply the filter. Like what I'm trying to tell you, if I go to date column, here I find like this should not be date. So I should filter out, like I can filter out for two, and I can go and I can filter out for IOI and KJ and click OK. So row number 1, row number, sorry, 13, 37, and 59, this row have some issues, and you can copy this data and highlight it with your client or the person who has provided the data sets, instead of scrolling down and seeing the row by row. You can simply look out here because it will show the unique values, that is column. So simply once you see the data, so once you have the data, so by looking this data, we try to understand these are the transaction data. Now you don't see any column. Why I'm saying this transaction data? Because if you understand this date, on this date, producer one, this is the stage name he met with some client, and what this is the opportunity name. This is related to construction. Niche application means they are categorizing their client based on the category, whether it is related to manufacturing, or whether it is related to construction, or whether it is related to commercial or others. So if you see, you will be have only the distinct value like chartered survey, commercial, healthcare, law firms, manufacturing, real, public transportation, retail. These are the different categorizations that they have. That is called niche application, and this is expected decision there. And here, if you see one column, this is the revenue column where you can sum up the revenue, do the aggregation, and you will find a meaningful information. Like if I sum up the revenue, I will have some value. If I doing the running some total, or finding the maximum or minimum the value. So whenever you are doing some aggregations and you are getting some informations, and that is something that you can use it. You are getting some informations that makes some sense. Then that particular table will be called as fact table. So how to identify any table as a fact table? So you have some, these are called dimensions. So I have a primary producer as one dimension, I have a stage name, account name, that adds detail to the informations. Like I have some, on this and this date, this was the revenue that was generated. But the question, who has generated this revenue? So it was generated by producer one. What is the stage name? The stage name is one mid client data gather insurance market. What is the account name? It is Best Point Construction Limited. This is the name of the account or the company. When the meeting has happened, what is the niche application or categorization? It is related to construction. So the column, that adds to the information, that describes about information. So these are the column that add more information about this revenue. So these columns will be calling as dimensions. Call dimensions. Why I'm calling dimensions? Because they are adding. So what are dimensions? So normally we have fact table and dimension table, so that is different. But here I'm calling them dimension. Even a column can be called as a dimension. What it means? It means any column that will going to add more information to the data that we have. So if I say on 28th of June 2018, this was the revenue, 20,000 revenue generated. Then what is the questions? Who generated? What is the stage name? What is the account name? Who was the client? When the meeting has happened? What is the group? So these are the column that adds to the information, that's give detailed or add more information about the data that we have. So any table where you have some column as a dimension, and some other column, at least one column, which you can add it or aggregate it, and you are getting meaningful information, that type of table are called fact table. By seeing that this data, we are seeing this table as a fact table. Even these are called transaction table, where transaction is happening. We have some meeting with producer one and client Best Point Construction, and it is related to constructions, and the some amount 20,000 revenue has been generated, is expected to be generated in month of July, 1st of July 2019. So these type of information, when a table contain these type of table are called transaction table, and they are called fact table. Okay. Now then we have another table, and this table, by seeing the data, if you are seeing, I have a primary producer and then I have office. So if you see primary producer at a producer 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and their offices are there. So if you see this column as primary producer, if you are seeing this column has information about all the producer. So I have producer 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, all the producer, right? And the name of the producer are unique if you are able to see. So if you see your fact table, see here, what are the producer I have? I have producer 1, 2, 3, and 4. Only 4 producer. Those who are making the money, those who are doing the business, those who are doing the transaction. But ideally, how many producer are there? So there are total 5 producer are there, out of which producer number 5 is not making any transaction, not making any business. That's why it is not available in the fact table. But I have the information about the producer 5 in the dimension table, because this table are master table. Ideally it should have information about all the producer that is there in the market. So since there are 5 producer, that's why I have information about all the producer. If you are seeing this column as a primary producer, this column has unique value of producer. So this column can act as a primary key. Why? Because it has unique value and none of the value are null. So these are the value are present here. None of the value are null. So this primary producer column can be used as a primary key. And then their corresponding offices are present there. So you can call this table as a primary producer, or you can call this table as you can call this table as uh, producer table or a dim producer table. Dim is stand for dimension producer table. Even these table are called master table because it has information about all the producer. Then if you see another table, this table is account table. Now, and why I'm calling this as a dimension table, not a fact table? Because I'm not calling this as a fact table because it does not have any column. Okay, it does not have any column. No, where you are doing the sum, min and max, and you are getting meaningful information. Because I cannot add this column and get a meaningful information. Even I cannot add this column and get a meaningful information. So this producer table does not have any of the column where you are summing up the value and you are getting the meaningful information. So this is a one point. That's why I'm saying this is not a fact table. Why I'm calling this as a dimension table? Because it has all the information about producer, like from producer 1 to producer 5. And if I'm seeing primary column, sorry, primary, if I'm seeing first column as a primary producer column, then this column has all the value unique, and there is no null value. And because of these two reasons, I am calling this table as dimension table or master table. Next, if you see this account name column, guys, can you tell me whether this table is a fact table or a transaction table or a dimension table? Now, you guys tell me. Guys, okay. Yes, can you tell me why this is not a fact table? Yes, you there? Okay, guys. So correct, Akshay and Priyank, you are right. This is called dimension table. Why I'm not calling as a fact table? Because it does not have any column where you can sum up and get a meaningful information. Okay, and then also if you are seeing account name and account ID, these two column are unique. So if you are able to see, there are total 78 rows, out of which one is header, so you can say 77. So this table have 77 rows, right? And if you will see, all the account ID and account name will be unique, and it does not have any null values. And because of these two reasons, you know, this account table is calling as a dimension table. So now, just seeing the data, what I have understood, that client has provided me one of the transaction table or fact table. Even I since it has revenue informations, or just seeing the data, I can call this as a sales table or a revenue table, that you can call it. Okay. And now by seeing this table, I either I can call this as a producer table or a dim producer, and I call this table as a dim account table. So now have these three uh, tables, and I have data. I have done my observations, and based on my observations, I need to analyze it. Oh, like I need to decide what are the important things that I can present to my client, that I should understand. Okay, just by seeing the data only. Okay, so like what just for seeing the data, what I can say, I have annual revenue, so I can represent what is the total revenue that client has created. But if you see the date, you have 2018, 17, and 19. So you have data from 2017 to 2019. So then what you can do, you can think, I can show client want to see the data for only 2018, maybe 2017, maybe 2019. So what I will do, I will provide a slicer or a filter where year will be there, and client will be able to filter the year wise data, like he can see 2018 data, 2019 data, or 2017 data. He has his choice. So I should provide this privilege to the client, so that he should able to access data very quickly. Now, whenever I representing or creating my reports, my report should be created in such a way that it should be user friendly, and just by seeing the data only, client should able to get it, what you want to plot it or what you want to present to the client. Just in a single glance, he should be able to understand it. Then we have primary producer like 1 2 3. So like client may be interested, or people those who are seeing the data, he may be interested that which producer has generated maximum revenue, or how much revenue that my producer number 2 is generating, or how much revenue my producer number 4 is generating. So that may be his questions. So these are called KPIs. These are called KPI. Okay. Now, so or might be he may be interested that which is the producer who is generating maximum revenue for me. So that producer will be become my priority. So if there is even a small issues, although I will be keeping the issues of my producer on on very priority, but then also the producer, I'm suppose I'm getting two issues from producer 1 and producer 2, and producer 1 is the one who is generating maximum revenue, producer 2 is the one who is generating minimum revenue. So my priority will be on solving the problem of producer 1 first, if I have constraint, resource constraint. So these type of information that people get it when you create any reports, and based on that only they take decisions. Also, suppose in reality producer 2 is generating maximum revenue, but your report is showing producer 1. When management Okay, use your report and your report is showing wrong information or wrong data, then their decisions will not be correct, and that will going to impact the business. So whenever you are creating any reports, just make sure that at least your data should be very very accurate. It should be pinpoint. It should be as correct as the real. Or if there is any error or some divergence from the actual data, you need to inform to the people that data in the database is not correct, or the report is, as of now, there is some error or some deviations of 1% or 2% from the actual value. Okay, so as a business analyst or a data analyst, your accuracy of the data become very very informations, and you are the one who will be directly connecting to the clients. Even because some business have a BA who will be connecting, who will be there between client and you to facilitate the process of creating the report. But most of the time, some organization, they will not have BA. So, as a data analyst, you will be directly connecting to the clients, taking the requirement and working on that. So, your communication should be very strong. You should be able to understand what the client is saying, right? And you should be able to implement what is correct. Okay. Now, since you've seen the data, and understand it, what are the other KPI that you can plot? Guys, can you tell me? Yeah, so like you can go back, you can decide, we have construction, we have commercial, we have transportation. Then you can categorize, you can plot, niche application against a revenue to see, which category or which area is generating maximum revenue, which is the second highest, which is the third highest. So that accordingly, if your company want to invest some resource to expand the business, they should able to expand the business in the field where there is a high chances of generating revenue. Suppose in food and agri business, company is not making much revenue, and if company have some amount and they want to expand their business, why they will going to spend money on food and agri business? Instead, suppose construction. In construction, company is making huge amount of revenue, huge amount of profit. Then if company want to expand it, they should expand in the field of construction. Also, from this data you can also see, suppose in food and agri business, your competitor is making huge amount of revenue but you are not able to make it. Then, as a management, or as people those who are sitting at the higher level taking the decision, they should work in finding why my opponent is making so much amount of revenue in food and agri business, and why we are not making, what the different things that they are doing and they are making the business, what are the different process they are following, what are the different services that they are able to give to the people in the field of food and agri business, and what we can do so that we can expand it. And this is how any business or any company, those who are in the market, they take decision based on the data, and this is how data derive the business. So whenever you are plotting some graph or plotting some visual, and management is seeing that, so that's why we call it, I create, you know decisions, in my report is going to give some insight that will help in deriving the decisions, or that will going to help in, helping the business to take the decisions. Okay, so these are the thing, that we can plot it. Also, if you are seeing, the stage name, right? Some stage has closed, some stage, still, client presentations are going on. So like, what, we can do that, so I can filter out if all the, some, meetings that has been closed already, some thing has been closed, so I will not focus on that, because now the company is sure that we are going to generate some amount, we are able to close this deal. But the deal, that is still going on, management should focus on this, which executive is talking to the client, what are the challenges that they are facing, at what stage we are there, are we facing some issues, is the client is demanding some, facilities, that we currently don't have in our company, but how we can provide it, or what are the other way, that or other services that we can provide to the client that will going to resolve their problem. So these type of discussions happens with the management, or with the delivery lead or market delivery lead. And uh, as a manager, they make sure that, deal should be closed and company is generating some amount of revenue. So when you are seeing this data, this type of thought process should come in your mind, and then only, you will be able to create a very good report. So just seeing the data and just doing the drag and drop, anyone can do it. But just to understand it, which one is my fact table, which one is my dimension table, if there is some value is there, what we should do, what type of KPI, can be plotted through the data, so that it will give a meaningful insight to them, that will going to help them to on taking the decisions, that will be going to helping my management or end user, those who are using my report, they can take the decisions confidently, because these are based on the data. And these are called storytelling in data analytics or reporting. So whenever you are creating Power BI report, or report in Tableau or a Google Looker, these teams are called reporting team, because we create reports and dashboards based on the data that we have. So either you call data analytics team, but mostly in data engineering or a data field we call it the reporting team. So we have a ETL team, those who work on the data to get the data from different data source to put it at one place. But as a Power BI developer and a Tableau developer, we normally work on creating reports and dashboard, and that's why people call us as a reporting team. So in reporting, your storytelling should be very strong, and it will be only strong when you see the data, understand these, attributes. Either you call it columns or attributes. These attribute will going to add more details to the information that you have. You should be able to understand. Okay. Now, since I have all this data, what I will do now? Let me import all this data into my Power BI report. Okay. Sorry, Akshay. Okay, let me do that. Let me import it. So first of all, what I will do, I will save this data sets. Okay, let me save it. Just guys, 1 minute. Yeah. So let me save these data sets. Now let me share my screen. My screen is visual, guys, right? Yes. Let me open, fresh Power BI report. Power BI. Okay. So yeah, it will be. So I'm opening this Power BI. It's going on. Yeah, I suppose it's going on. Okay, so let me open, blank Power BI report and then we'll see. Let it open. It will going to take few minutes. Ideally should not take much time. So this is the report, that let me open. Yeah, I will open now. Yeah, we have the report. Now this report does not have any data sets, so I will click on blank report. Yeah. So this is my blank report. Okay. Let me remove one report because I already have one. So the system is slow. Wait for some time. Okay, so this is empty report that I have. So whenever you start working on, whenever you get your data, you try to understand your data and everything. And once you understand, let's import that data. Okay. To bring that data into your report, you need to click on get data. And since I want to fetch the data from Excel workbook, so I need to click on Excel. Now I have this, downloaded this data set. So let me click on download. And this is the data sets that Akshay has sent it to me. So let me click OK. Now it's trying to make a connections with the folder where my data is stored and the Power BI. Now, if you see this navigator, window is open. So what I will do, I will, see the preview of the data. To see the preview, don't click on this box. Simply select on table name. So I click on table 2 and I will able to see the preview. So if you are seeing, I am able to see the dates, right? And then I have a producer name, a stage name, account name, opportunity, niche applications, expected decision date, and revenue. Now, this preview in the navigator will you will be seeing all the column that this table have. So this is table number 2. So I will be seeing all the column, but I won't be seeing all the rows. So ideally it will be based on 100 rows or 1000 rows. See, the data in the preview has been truncated due to size limit. So in preview, you are not able, you are not seeing all the rows, but you are seeing all the column. Okay. If you scroll at the bottom, you will be having this warning here. Now, if you see table number 3, you have primary producer and offices. Since here we have limited number of rows, so I am able to see that all data. Then you can see table number 5, where you have account name, and then you have account ID and primary office and so on. So here, since it has limited number of rows only, some 63 or something, so we are able to see all rows. See, now if I click on this data, so I have data, all the data. So here, if you are seeing, we have a date, primary stage number, niche appreciation, then we have annual revenue, and then we have a primary produce and so on. Now, so what I will do, if you want to load this data, because I want to load this data, table 2, you need to click on this box. Then I need to load this table 3 also and table 5 also. I don't want to load this, data. So I does not clicked on boxed. And there is two options. You see load and transform data. So when you click on load, what will happen? The data will load into Power BI desktop. But when you click on transform data, it will not load to Power BI desktop, but the data will be there in Power Query. So a Power Query will open, and since we know that Power Query act as a ETL, so where you will be able to transform your data. Suppose if I want to do some transformation with my current data, like if I'm seeing table number 2, here I'm seeing this value 2, ideally it should be date. Then I know that I have to do some transformation. I cannot directly load this data to my you know Power BI desktop, because if I load it, the data will not be correct, and then also I have to anyhow do the transformation. So if I click on load, it will load into Power BI desktop, but data will not be correct. So if I click on load, see what will happen. It will, in a few minutes, it will try to load the data. It will going to load table number 1, oh sorry, 2, 3 and 5. See, it is trying to make a connections with the with the Excel file that is on my system, and the Power BI. Since, see, the table 2 has error, so it is giving some error. Okay. Now let me click on close, and if you go back to here, and if you click on table 2 to see the data, hey, see, this will be error. That's why it was indicating it has error. So the error has not fixed. Still I am able to see 2. Still I am able to see KJ. So this has not been fixed. Since this has not been fixed, ideally I need to open my Power Query and make these changes. If I see table number 3, I have correct data, and table number 5 also. Let me check that. Here also the data is correct. Now, so before loading the data into, once you load your data into Power BI desktop, you do not go simply jump on to report view and start creating the visual. No, don't do that. Your first option is to go back to Power Query and check your data, whether the data is correct or not. Check the data profile and everything. How to do that? You need to be in home tab and then click on transform data. So what will happen? My Power Query will happen. Below going to open. See here it is Power Query. Now this I have table 2. Now first of all, whenever you load this data, check what is the data type that my Power BI has detected. So in Power BI, Power Query, if I check, this is the date column. Ideally, my Power Query should know that here I am storing date. But as of now, it is showing ABC and 123. So whenever it is showing ABC on 123, it means that Power BI knows that there is some data. It may be some string value. It may be some number value like 123. But Power BI is not sure that it is the date value. But I know, as a developer, I know that ideally it should be a date value, and I want to tell Power BI that it is a date value. Consider this column as a date data type, not as general data type. So whenever you have ABC and 123, it will be general. So 123 stands for whole number, and ABC stands for text value. So ABC. So Power BI is confused. He is not sure that whether it is a date value or whether it is a number or a string. That's why when Power BI does not able to detect correctly or not sure, then it will be going to give ABC and 1. Based on what Power BI detect? Based on the value that this column will have. So I have some value as 28 slash 06 slash 2018. I have some value as a 2 and I will have some value as KJ. So based on all these value, Power BI detect the data type of the column. Since the values are not correct, the data type has detected incorrectly. Okay, so whenever you are loading the data, make sure that Power BI has should detect the correct data. So what I have to do, I have to change the data type. So I will simply go and choose date. When I choose date, you know, see, since here it was 2, 2 cannot be changed into date, that's why it is giving error. So if you click it here, so the value is kj, so it was kj cannot be changed into date because it's a string value. That's why it has given error. Let me remove this filter because I applied this filter on date, so I will remove I will unchange it and you will have error here. So whenever you are changing data type, how will get that whether this my column has error or not? By this indication, if you are seeing this red line, so whenever at the down of at the column header, at the bottom of a column header you will get some symbol. Like if you are getting totally green means it does not have any error, nor it have any null value. Zero error, zero empty. When 100% green. When you have a red, it means it has an error. When you have brown black color, it means it has null value. So if I go back here someplace, see, here also I have error because it is red in color. One column that has error, we need to check on that why it has error. Suppose I go back here, I go back this error, and what I will do, I replace this error by nothing. How I can do that? I select it here and then I go to replace value, and what I am saying, what is the value that I want to replace? I want to replace this error by nothing. So this is the value that I want to replace, but with what value? I am passing nothing, null value. So this value it is not able to find it. So what I will do, I will write kj. So replace kj. See what is saying. Let me click it. Enter a date value. Why it is asking a date value? If I'm putting kj, it is not taking, it is giving me error. What is the error it is giving? It is saying enter a date value. Why it is saying enter a date value? Because see, the data type of this column is date now. So since it is a date, and if I want to replace any value, then I need to provide a date value. So what I have to do, let me go back to the previous step, that is till navigations. Here I will see 2. Let me replace 2 by null value. So if I try to replace 2 it by null value, see I am replacing 2 by null value. Let me click OK. I am successfully able to replace. If you are able to see row number 2, here nothing is coming. Nothing is coming. See, if I go back here, see, I replaces this by null, or if I say empty string, let me say I want to replace this with null or with nothing. Just let me check. I want to replace this with nothing. Double quote, not in single quote. Let me click on this. See here, nothing is coming. Now I am able to replace, because as of now, Power Query know that the data type of this column is ABC and 123. So either maybe it is a string value or it is a number. Here I am able to replace. Okay, let me come back here. Now, since there was nothing, it is showing null now. So it was empty. Empty cannot be converted to it. So it was showing null now. How you will get to know that? If you bring your cursor here, you will get some information. Like see, error is 2%. 2 rows has error, which goes to 1%. 1% means if you select this row column, okay, if you see this column, this is total, this table number 2 have 8 column and 180 rows. So if you choose column number 1, 2, 3, 4, if I scroll towards left, then I will have column number 5, 6, 7 and 8. So I have 8 column and number of rows is 180. So this table number 2 have 8 column and 180 rows. What is column profiling? So let me click on view, and let me click on column distributions, column profile and column quality. So let's see one by one. So what I have done it, I have gone to the view and click on column quality. So this column quality will going to give information about each row. What type of information it will going to give about? So it will give about how many rows are valid, how many rows are empty, how many rows have error. So it will give you information about that for each row. So for a date column, for primary producer column, for a stage column, for account column and all that. Here all the account name are valid. So 100% is valid. It does not have any error and it does not have any empty. So this type of information you will get it through column quality. What are the information that you will get it? How many rows are valid, how many rows have error, how many rows are empty. You does not have to scroll. And these are based on, if you are saying column quality or a column profile or column distribution, these are based on, top 1000 rows. Top 1000 rows. It means if your table have 10 lakh of rows or 1 lakh of rows, and suppose bottom 9 lakh rows have some issues, so that will not going to reflect here. So it has some limitations based on the size of the data. Now if you are seeing column distribution, this column distribution will going to give you information level how many distinct value are there and how many unique value are there. So this type of information, it will going to give you based on the data that we have. And then you will have column profile, where you get information about, if I choose account name, then it will give you complete information about account name, like how many number of rows are there into this column. So it has 180 rows. How many error is there? So 0 is there. How many empty is there? So 0 is empty. How many value which are distinct value? So there are 77 distinct value, means there are 77 different client are there with which company is making some business, and this is how they are generating some revenue. How many unique business are there? Unique means uh, that has appeared only once into this column. So 0 is there. It means we have distinct value 77, out of which all are repeating. So like, suppose I have GT Access Limited, so it will repeat it at least twice. So it has appeared at least two times, and that's why unique is 0. Then how many empty string are there, then what is the minimum value and maximum value. So here if you see minimum and maximum, these are based on alphabetical order, because the data type of this column is ABC, that is a string. In string data type, the minimum and maximum will be based on the alphabets order. And I know that account name will be string value, so the data type that Power BI has detected is correct. So this is how, by in a single glance, you will be able to see the health of your data, like how good your data is. So your data should not contain much of the garbage, because if you are having a data that have lot of garbage, you will end up creating a report that will going to give you a garbage only. So in data, garbage in, garbage out. It means your data should be correct, accurate. It should not have lots of error or null values or inaccuracies. So instead of just scrolling and seeing one by value one by one, you need to simply check the column profile, column distributions, or column quality, and you will have information about your data sets. So this table have some error, like two rows have error. So what you can do, you can simply right click and you will get option to remove error. You can do that and it will gone. So now it does not have error. Now if you see, it has a green line and then you have a grayish line. So grayish line represent how many rows are empty. So it is showing only one rows are empty. How many rows are error? So 0 rows are there error. And what is the total number of rows that has a valid value? So 177. Valid means that have a date value, because I'm telling Power Query that consider this column as a date data type. So the value inside this column will be of it should be date. So that is called valid. If you see, this grayish line is represent null values. So either you removed error, or you replace error. So if you want to replace error, just go back to the previous applied step and do that. Like replace kj with some date. Like you can go to this home and ask your client. They will going to provide you some data or some inputs. Based on that, I can give 1st of June 2018, because I have data. Or because data is between 2018 and 2017 and 19. That's why I'm giving any random date based on that. Even you can replace all this value. Even you can click it here and you will be able to see the distinct value. So you will be seeing blank or any value which you can filter out and make the changes. Like simply I want to make any changes, or see. So I can simply filter out and just check. So this is date this, and if you see, uh, this is expected, decision date is 30 of March 2019. It means this date will be around 1st of January, or between January 2019 and March 2019. Because expected delivery date, if you are able to see, it is 30 of March 2019. So this date is before 2019, or 30 of March 2019. It should be before that date. Okay, so it will be around January 2019 or February 2019, or either it is December 2018. So ideally, you should replace value, based on your data sets. So let me remove this filter. I want to delete this filtering that I have applied, and I should have all the data. So this is how you can do that. Okay, so once you have data, this is how you need to check, column, each column. It should not have error. If, see, I have in annual revenue, I have some error. Yeah. So how to filter out that error? So just click it here, deselect everything, scroll down, see any value. If we have any error, list is incomplete. Okay, no worries. Let me deselect it here. Let me check where is the error. So you can remove the error from here also by clicking out it here, and the error has been gone. So there might be some value that cannot be converted to number, and because of that error is showing. Yeah, because of that, see, here is there. You can click it here and you will get some information why this error. So there was a value with hashtag value. This cannot be converted to number, and that's why it is giving error. You can see this information, and you can even remove this value, or even you go back to here and change the data type also, or replace that hashtag value with your value that you want. So you can go here, you will see hashtag value or error. So replace this value with some other value. We can do that based on whatever it is. So this is how you need to apply it. Let me remove the error. So either you can remove duplicate or error. Since here I have to remove the duplicate, I have done that. Here also I will be removing error. Now once you have data, you can check the data type should be correct. Since we have annual revenue, ideally it should be some decimal number. So I will go with decimal number. Expected date, it should be not ABC, it should be date. No, it should not also be date time, because here we have only date only. So I will choose date. Niche application, it is some name. So ideally I will call it as a text value. Opportunity name, it is also text value. Account name, it is correct. Stage name, so now this table, my table is ready now. So this is how you create your table, check your table, and even you give the name of your table. So how to change the name? Either you right click, and you will get option to rename, and here you select revenue, or either you can call it a sales. Then you go to this table, primary producer, office. These are correct, and you can change your table name by clicking it here. Say that dim underscore producer. So this is how I created, and again I have this account. So just check, data type has been detected correctly or not. It should be ABC. Then account ID, it should be ABC, and then primary office, it should be ABC. No error, no nothing. So I call this as team account. I click enter. See, so now I have a revenue table, I have a team producer table, and I have a team account table. Now, once I have done all those transformations that is required, and that is needed, what I will do, I will click close and apply. So the changes that, yes, Akshay. No. Okay, where? Let me click on close and open the Power Query. Where, Akshay? Let me just check. This has error. Okay. So let me remove the error. Okay. So let me click there. How many rows are there now? So when you delete any row with error, entire row gone, entire information is gone. Normally we don't recommend it, removing the error. What we do, we recommended either fixing these values or error something at a source side, always towards source side. Because we don't do it as a data analyst, we need to discuss with ETL team why the data is like this, why this data has error, whether you want this row or you don't want this row. You need to discuss, right? Suppose this has error. If I removed error now, the number of row will going to this. Now it has 176. And when you try to load the data that has an error, it will not load. It will give you warning. Earlier it was giving the warning, right? We have seen. Now we don't have any error. I am successfully able to load all the data. So if I go here, I have dim account table, I have a dim producer table, and I have revenue table. Now my data are all sorted, all correct, all clean data. So all the transformation or cleaning that you will do it is your first step when you load your data, and you should do it in Power Query. Right? Once these are done, in the next class, we're going to discuss about how to create the model. Okay, then we'll discuss about star schema and snowflake schema. By default, there are some relationship that Power BI has detected it. Uh, Ideally, don't allow Power BI to detect any relationship. You should create your relationship on your own based on your requirement. We have already discussed the relationship, are depend upon the requirement and depend upon the table, which table is fact table, which table is dim table. Even the cardinality and cross filter direction are very very important, and they have their own impact, okay, that we have discussed in the previous class. So what I will do, in the next class we'll try to first create the data modeling, and then we'll go ahead on creating the report. So what are the steps that you should follow? You should import your data, you should clean your data in the Power Query, right? Do some data checkups and validations. And once that is done, you load your data into Power BI desktop, create the data model, and then go ahead and create your report by creating calculated column or measures. Okay, so these are the steps that you should follow while creating any reports.